A teacher shortage is just one of the major problems facing Oklahoma schools. They're also dealing with budget cuts in excess of $200 million, more students who need help learning the language, and school safety and security.
After a tornado struck Moore last year, killing 7 children and injuring students in 2 elementary schools, state officials repeatedly faced the question, why hasn't Oklahoma built storm shelters in every school? A year later, the issue of storm shelters and how to pay for them is caught up in politics. Speaking on the OETA program, The People's Business, State Representative John Bennett said there is no good reason why this issue has not been resolved.
To have an incident like we unfortunately had recently, it shouldn't come to that. We should have a way to protect our kids in such a storm that comes up that fast. For us not being able to do something for our kids is just outrageous.
On the issue of school security, studies show that most of the incidents involving school violence stem from bullying. Solutions there also involve more staff and more money. State Representative Joe Dorman.
We've got to work with the schools to have more counselors in place. These kids need a place to go. Going back to the resource officers, those would be perfect individuals.
Yes.
That would be an authority figure that the kids could certainly learn to talk to.
The 2 lawmakers agreed local control is best for issues of security and safety, but local funding isn't going to cover the cost.
I would leave it up to local school boards to determine what's best for their school and their area, their atmosphere and their environment, and then tell us, hey, this is what we come up with, this suits us, fits us, and this is what we need, this is the money we need to make it happen.
Dr. Joseph Ciano, superintendent of Norman Public Schools, points out why decisions on safety and security are best made at the local level. Instead of metal detectors, Norman schools took a different approach to protect against intruders.
None of our schools had what we call secure vestibules, secure entrances, and what that means is once school starts, the academic areas can be locked off, and any entry has to go through the office and then into the academic areas.
15 of the district's 22 schools now have that hardened entrance. With new bond funds, they are finishing work on the rest of the school buildings. On shelters and safe rooms, the district also has a plan.
Now we've built in a strategy outside of any other funding that might become available, other than local funding, to build safe and secure rooms in each of our facilities as we go through and remodel facilities or do additions.
An example of that is the gymnasium at the new Truman Primary School. Its walls and ceilings are made of steel-reinforced concrete, a structure that is designed to withstand tornadic winds and protect students in both the primary school and the adjacent elementary school. But there are more than 1,000 school buildings across the state, some of them decades old. Found in Moore a year ago, the schools hit by the deadly tornado had been poorly constructed and actually suffered increased damage as a result. Representative Dorman says there was a bill in the legislature this year to help schools determine which buildings may have similar construction flaws.
Liability coverage for individuals to go through and review the school buildings to see if they were built to code and try and avoid the problems what we saw in Moore. And that legislation did not go through. We need laws like that that will give security and peace of mind to these parents and these teachers.
Representative Bennett says it's a state responsibility to make sure school buildings are really safe, no matter what the weather.
We need stronger laws to make sure that these schools are inspected, they meet the codes, because it goes back, just like we've both been saying, it's our kids going to our schools and our communities. They've got to be protected.
In Norman, Superintendent Ciano took steps on his own to make sure they knew any weaknesses in their buildings with the help of outside experts.
Weather people from the National Weather Service, safety specialists that are in the community, emergency management people, and engineers go through all of our buildings. And what they identified in every building was the safest place in that building under its current configuration.
And they found one school where there was no safe place in a storm. 60-year-old Jackson Elementary was designed with open courtyards, multiple pods and windows everywhere, including every outside wall.
We have an alternative for that school. If there's imminent danger or we feel like there's an imminent storm, and we do have good communications, we've got a system that says we're taking those kids from that building and bringing them to Alcott Middle School, which has fabulous facilities for that.
Norman Schools has been able to do all of this by juggling financing and with a lot of community support. Since 2008, Norman Public Schools have had $6 million cut in state funding.
You're basically supplanting what you should be giving us and letting the local district carry the burden. And what I would say to the community is your investment is being watered down because of a lack of support from the state level and state appropriations. And it hurts safety and security and all those other things because I have to divert capital investments to things that should be ongoing costs.
All across Oklahoma, students are wrapping up the current school year in the month of May, the most deadly month of the year for severe weather.